I set myself the very difficult task of making $10,000 playing small stakes poker, or else I quit my YouTube channel. Today, we get one step closer or further to that goal. Watch to find out more, but today, we are at the Wynn in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sin City, baby. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Close to Broke. My name is Kieran, and today we're joined with Sethy, who's back there. Mike the editor, look at him back in the action. Oh, also, you guys always ask me, what happened to my car? No, I didn't get rid of it. I just don't drive it because that's torching money on fire. But anyways, we're over here at the Encore and/or Wynn. We're gonna play some poker. Don't know what I'm gonna play yet. Also, I need to find an ATM because I'm poor. So, see you guys soon. There's a couple of hands that I wasn't able to get to on video, but I think they're pretty important to go over, so let's go over them now. In the very first hand of note, I haven't even got my chips. It's the very first hand that I sit down at this new poker table. We're playing 2-5-10. The straddle is on for most of the night. Unfortunately, there's a couple spots where it doesn't come on, but that's neither here nor there. Lay position makes it $15. The small blind calls. I'm getting a good price to call on the big blind with 10-4 suited, so I flick it in. Flop comes out, giving me middle pair. Queen 10-5, checks to the initial raiser who decides to c-bet. Easy call for us when the small blind folds with our backdoor flush draw as well as middle pair. The turn card is an interesting card as it comes an overcard to my 10, but it does bring me a backdoor flush draw. When I check it to him and he checks it back, things are looking pretty good. The river card now comes out a beautiful 8 of clubs. Does put a 4-liner out there, and it also does bring in that backdoor flush. If by some miracle my opponent does have a 9 in his hand, I want to go for all of it. I want to go for max value. I bet 200, and it's funny because I don't even have chips in front of me, so I just have to, verbally announce my bet. But my opponent then thinks about it for well over 2 minutes. At this point, I feel like I made the perfect bet sizing. Whether he calls or folds, the fact that we're getting him to think this long is definitely a positive thing, but it doesn't matter when he folds anyway, so unfortunate there, but happy we were able to take that pot down. And I'm getting these people used to some overbets, because they're coming today. They're coming. So after getting our beak wet in the first hand, here we go. We have another fun one. Middle position makes it $30 to go. The big blind and then myself in the straddle decide to make the call. We have queen 10 offsuit, and the flop comes out giving us a gutter ball. There is 2 clubs on board, so it is a little bit of a sketchy situation, but when the big blind donk bets for 30, I'm left in an interesting situation. Although calling is probably okay sometimes, seems like folding or raising are the best options. All that to be said, I decide to just call, which I think is the worst option, but that's why we're playing 5-5. We're going to a turn card that comes out the 5 of diamonds now, and we're heads up here, and once again, the big blind does the coveted double donk. Double donk, same bet for $30. At this point, I do believe it is a little irresponsible to continue with my hand, as we don't have clean outs to the nuts. If it does come a club, that's always sketchy. And beyond that, I just don't think I'm going to be good with queen high very often, right? So we end up reluctantly folding, although raising, like I said, is a reasonable situation, but we're going to relinquish this hand and move on. A big reason why I've decided to hold myself accountable with this challenge is because I wanted a reason to push myself. Playing these larger stake games and these private games, although they are technically softer, I find myself just being an absolute punch show, and that's not the goal. I want to make money, I want to prove to you guys that it is possible, and more than anything, I just want to challenge myself. I'm here in the streets in this awful 5-5 game with euros everywhere, but it's not going to stop me from being great. The hijack makes it $30 to go, the cutoff calls, and I'm on the button with the beautiful, the legendary ace-4 suited. I decide that this is a great situation for me to go ahead and 3-bet. I make it $150 to go, and only the original raiser calls. We're going to a flop here that comes 9-9-8 with a spade and 2 hearts. Pretty bad flop for our specific hand, but pretty decent for my range. So when the opponent checks to me, I think a continuation bet is definitely in order. Although it would suck to get check raise off our hand here, I don't think that these opponents are going to be check raising at a high enough clip to make this a unprofitable c-bet, if that makes sense. English is not my first language, obviously. Anyways, we throw out 125, and luckily for us, our opponent folds. Like I said, I'm here to battle. Let's fucking do it. You know what's really helpful to a session? Picking up pocket Kirans. Middle position makes it 15 to go. I'm in the small blind, and I decided to 3-bet to $50. The original raiser thinks about it for a bit before deciding to flick in the call. We love that.
The flop comes out giving us an overpair, 2 pair to be specific. Little bit of a sketchy board texture, but when the action starts off on me, I decide to do something really weird. I decide to check to allow my opponent to overvalue or to think he's good with his marginal middling pairs, and possibly even cooler him if he decided to slow play a hand like jacks or queens. Luckily for us, he flicks in a bet, makes it 35, and all of that sketchiness is absolutely out of the window. Turn cards a king, bada bing, bada boom. Pocket Hurons to the rescue, we have top boat. We now only lose 2 quad 10s, which is obviously unlikely. The only problem is my hand is probably too good here. We now have most of the board locked up, and the only thing we can really hope for is our opponent having a 10 in this spot. Once again, I decided to check it over to my opponent, and luckily for us, he decides to check it through. Sarcasm. River card comes out the 4 of diamonds. Okay, a little bit of a tricky situation once again because we can check and hopefully our opponent bets, but the problem with that is he's going to be checking back a ton of those middling pairs now with that scare card on the turn. So I decide to go for gusto. I make a massive overbet here for $300. I don't know how I'm going to balance myself and I can give 2 shits. I'm not going to play with these players enough to really care that much. So my goal is to get the maximum. I'm putting him on a hand like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, maybe pocket jacks or queens even, and even then sometimes an ace high hand. All of those hands I think are going to consider calling here. I can have a bunch of random draws, and more importantly, I'm a punter and maybe he knows it. After a very long tank, several minutes go by, he flicks in the call. We show our hand and obviously we're good. He shows us a king, so we got the absolute max value and very satisfied with the way we played the hand. So the video is going to start a little bit into this hand, but we've got some catching up to do. At this point, we're playing short-handed. All of the other players have decided to go on a dinner break or something. When I look down at Jack 9 suited, I make it a raise to 15. The next to act player calls. We're going heads up to a flop where I make top pair. Pretty good here. The flop comes out 9-4 deuce, giving me top pair, but there is a flush draw out there. I flick in a small c-bet for about half the size of the pot, and my opponent decides to make the call. Turn card is a 5 of diamonds. Shouldn't change too much here. A couple of straights come in, but not really worried about that all too much, especially against 2 early position ranges. I decide to continue betting for value. Don't want to go too big here. We do want to keep our opponent's entire drawing range probably still intact, so we make it 55. And once again, he flicks in the call. River card comes out the ace of hearts, bringing a 4-liner as well as that front door flush draw. A little bit perturbed at this situation because when I check it over to my opponent, he decides to bet off for 100 very quickly. At these stakes, yeah, maybe he's bluffing sometimes, but honestly, I just can't think of too many bluffs. What hands float the flop that don't improve by the river? Flushes get there, straights get there, and even if he decided to turn some random hand like, I don't even know, 5-6 into a bluff, you just gotta give him credit for it. Long tank goes by, but I do something that I'm not well known for, and that's go ahead and make the bold. Pains me to say it out loud, but I just couldn't find enough bluffs to make this make sense, so good hand to you, sir. I promised to you guys that I was gonna bring everything I got to today's session, and this hand completely shows that. Under the gun makes it 15 to go. Next to act calls, and then the Euro decides to 3-bet from middle position to 75. Action folds back to me in the big blind, and once again, we're in a spot that we love, we cherish. I relish moments like this. Raise, call, 3-bet by a Euro, and I'm sitting here, the ultimate Euro. The one they didn't see coming. Pocket Hurons? Never. Ace 4 suited. Ace 4 of spades. What do those computers say? Yeah, just go crazy with this. Well, I'm fucking doing it, ladies and gents. I'm going for gusto. I throw in the cold 4-ball 360 no-scope to $255 with ace frickin' 4. Because some computer said it was a good idea. Everyone folds, and we take down the pot. That's how gangsters do it, baby. Let's go! Got that dog in me, huh?
Here we go. Last hand of note. Once again, I don't have any video. And once again, we look down at ace 4 suited. The third time today that we look down at ace 4. And, you know, what do they say? Third time's a charm. It hasn't treated me poorly this far, so I don't expect anything different. There's a $10 straddle on, and an OMC decides to limp it up. Nothing wrong with that for $10. I decide to isolate here to 40 from middle position. Only that limper makes a call. We're going heads up to a flop that is about as good as it's going to get for my hand. Comes out giving me trip aces. Something weird happens, though. My opponent decides to donk lead out for a pretty large sizing. You know, we're not going to really complain. We have trips here, not really afraid of much. So we're going to go ahead and flick in the call here. It is a really massive sizing, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's something. I flick in the call, and the turn card comes out a 5, if I'm not mistaken, or an 8, actually. It comes out an 8 of spades. At this point, once again, my opponent decides to lead out the double donk barrel. Don't see these often, but these are pretty sick. We've seen them a bunch today, and he bets for 100 again. I don't know what is up with people today throwing out the same bet sizing twice in a row, but I'm here for it, I think. I don't want to scare him away just yet. If there's any chance in the world that he has just a 10 here, if the river comes off maybe a queen, a 10, a jack, a king, maybe he improves to a better, I guess, 3 pair now, or a better 2 pair, I should say. But all that being said, I want to keep him in. I don't think that he's going to stack off with a bunch of really, really weak hands. So I just flick in the call here, and the river card comes out. Another 8. We now have a full house here. And once again, our opponent leads out for $100. Don't really know what to do with the sizing, but in reality, it's pretty easy. We have a boat. We get to just raise here, you know, pretty clearly. I make it $600 to go. And then my opponent goes deep into the tank and then starts giving me the speech. He gives the whole speech like they always do. He says, man, did I run into it? Did I run into it? Not again. I can't believe it. But after about 45 seconds to a minute, he decides to flick in the call. At this point, I feel like maybe I just cooled him. Maybe he had like, I don't know, Jack 10 or something and made a bone on the river. But that's not the case. He had the best hand the entire time. He had ace jack suited. That river completely saved our ass. So all of that for just a split pot, obviously not awesome. But in this case, I'm very happy because I would have absolutely depleted our massive winning on the session. So yeah, I guess just be careful next time you see an OMC limp from under the gun. Probably should be a little cautious. I know better than that, honestly. But either way, that's going to do it for the poker today. Let's throw it to the outro mid-session. What? You get what I'm trying to say. Let's throw to me in person at the Wynn parking lot. How you doing? Good, brother. How are you? Thank you so much. Did me wrong. Holy shit. Okay, so that was kind of a fun session. Couple of really fun hands to go over. Yeah, nothing crazy. We didn't play anything redonkulous per se, but it was definitely a fun session and kind of brought me back to my roots. The one thing I'm trying to come at a different approach with this year's World Series of Poker is usually I focus solely on tournaments and I get pretty spent pretty quickly, and I'm going to attempt to switch that. My goal here first is to come out here, make some money, playing some good cash games, hopefully, and then from there I'll figure it out and play tournaments where I see them fit. There's a bunch of obviously really high value tournaments going on right now at the World Series of Poker. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to notice that, but yeah. Also, you know what's crazy? This car right here, the last time I brought this car to Vegas, it was vandalized. Throwback to that vlog where I walk out of the Wynn after playing, and yeah, it was kind of funny. $600 win. We only played for like an hour and a half. The game was kind of dusty and pretty bad. Just wanted to challenge myself. Felt like the challenge was met, and now it's just about going home and enjoying the rest of the night with the missus. So I'll see you guys on the next vlog. I don't know what it's going to be, honestly. Hope you guys have enjoyed or did enjoy or are still enjoying this wonderful time here, the 30 for 30. I'm making a video every single day of June, obviously, and I can't thank you guys enough for the support. So I'll see you guys very soon. Stay happy, stay healthy, and more importantly, we're going to get the tables, y'all. Expect the video tomorrow. Love you, deuces. So far